تالتة ثانوي هانت خلاص، أنا قد التحدي، خطوة كمان والبكرة هعدي. تالتة ثانوي، تالتة ثانوي.
Welcome dear student to our channel Madrasetna 3 under supervisions of the Ministry of Education. أعزائي طلاب الصف الثالث الثانوي مادة الأحياء، أهلا بكم في حلقة جديدة لتدريس الأحياء باللغة الإنجليزية تحت إشراف وزارة التربية والتعليم. Now we are going to focus about the learning outcome that related to this episode. Okay? By the end of this lesson, students should be able to recognize the concept of reproduction and its importance. Number 2, compare between the pollen grains formation and ovules formations. 3, identify the type of the pollinations. Okay, that's right. Before studying the flowering plants, it's called Indonesiums. It's called angiosperm. Flowering plant, it's called angiosperm. It contains the precarp. Okay, that's right. Before starting this episode about the reproduction in the flowering plants, we can define the flowers. What is the meaning by the flowers? Short stem whose leaves is modified to reproductive organs. Okay? There is a two types of the flowers. Number 1, flower, it's called with bract, without bract. Flower with bract is stocked, that contains the pedicles. Sessile doesn't contain the pedicles. What about the bract? Bract, leaves that emerge from the flower axis with the various colors, different from colors from flower to another flowers. There is a types of the florences. What's the meaning of the florences? Florences, a group of flowers. It's segregations, a group of flowers. It's aggregations in the flower axis. A group of flowers, aggregations in the flower axis. For example, the pea inflorescences that's found in the bean plant. Another type of flowers, apical and the axial. Apicals and the peaks that's found in the tulip. Axial emerge from the flower axis. It's called biotinia. Okay? Now we are going to the structures of the flowers. Number 1, structure of the flowers. Calyx. It consists of, number 1, calyx, green leaves, the first rolls found in the flowers. It contains the sepals. It functions, protects the flower before blooming. Number 2, corolla. Corolla, another walls from in the flowers. It consists of the petals. Color and scented leaf. Why color and scented? To attract the insects that play an important role on the reproductions of the flowers. Attracts the insects to transfer the pollen grain from inserts to the stigma, to help the formations of the pollination process. Okay. Andronysium, that represent the male reproductive organ. Andronysiums, that represent male reproductive organ. It consists of stamens. Stamens, 2 parts. Okay? Filament and inserts. Inserts, it contains 4 sacs. Each sac contains the spore muscle cells to helping formation the pollen grain inside it. Another component of the flowers, the gynoecium, that represents female reproductive organs. It consists of ionates, it's called carpels. What's the carpels? Carpels consists of, number 1, ovary, styles, finally, stigma. Stigma is secreting sugar substance. The pollen grain stick with it when it transferring to it to completing the pollination and the fertilization process. That's right. Okay. Reproduction in the living organism. Focus now. We are going to focus about the main point. Its formation, the pollen grain. The male reproductive organs, it consists of inserts and the filament. It's called the stamens. Inserts, it contains the 4 sacs in your pictures. Okay? These figures, maturation of the ovary and the insert stage. Please focus in these figures. Insert, it consists of 4 sacs. Each sac contains a large number of the spore mother cells, is to N. Inside the inserts, spore mother cell is divided mitotically. What does that mean mitotically? Meiosis. Give us 4 cells. Each cells have a chromosomal set N. Forming 4 cells, both one of them, it contains N, it's called microspore. The microspore is divided mitotically, that means that mitosis. Each cells, it gives us 2 main nuclei, generative nucleus and tube nucleus, by mitosis. And surrounded by membrane from outside, rough, it's called finally the pollen grain. When the formation in the pollen grains, it matures inside the inserts and releasing and transfer by wind, insects, and another type waters by mans, okay? So the formation in the pollen grain, it's occur inside the inserts, starting with meiosis, then mitosis. Just remember that the reproduction in the spirogyra, starting with meiosis and finally mitosis. Okay, that's right. Another point in the flowering plant. Second, formations of ovules. The ovules that's found in the female reproductive organ, it's called gynoecium. Gynoecium, it consists of the carpels. Carpels, swelling part of ovary, inside the ovary ovules, extend from its styles, ending finally with the stigma, that's secreting sugar substance, the pollen grain stick with it. The ovules, it's appear as a simple swallowing. Attach the wall of the ovary from inside and surrounded by membrane except the micropyle. What the meaning of the micropyle? It is the opening through which the pollen grain enter to the egg cells to fuse, forming the zygote in fertilizations. This is the importance of the micropyle, okay? Inside the ovules, that's spore mother cells. Spore mother cells is to N, it divided mitotically. That means that meiosis gave 4 cells. Okay? 3 degenerate and 1 cell it remain. This cell it remain inside the ovules, forming the embryonic sac inside the ovules. The embryonic sac is surrounded by the nucleus. What is the function of the nucleus? Supplies the ovule with the nutrients. Inside the ovules, there is the type of the division, it's called mitotic division. It occurs 3 times. One give us 2 cells, and the other 4 cells, and finally 8 cells. The number of cells that producing from mitotic division inside the ovules, 8 cells. 4 go to the pools and all another pools. And take one from the each one pools side, forming the 2 polar nuclei. Another cells away from the micropyle, it's called antipodial cells. Another cells near to the micropyles, in middles, egg cells. And the 2 sides of the egg cells, synergate the cells. Inside the embryonic sac, all of the chromosomal set is N. So, what's the ovules? Ovary, ovary to N. Inside the ovules, embryonic sac, N. Nucleus, N. Synergy cells, N. Tubular nuclei, N. Egg cells, N. Antipodial cells, N. Okay, that's right. Finally, the ovules is formed, egg cells and 2 polar nuclei. Now we are going to another point about after ending from the formation of the pollen grain and ovules. Okay, that's right. The nucleus is divided mitotically, 3 giving 8 nuclei. From migrates of each pollen of the embryonic sac, for each one of these 4 nuclei, one move to the center of the embryonic sac, giving the 2 polar nuclei. Focus in this figures, please. Figure section of the mature ovary. The mature ovary consists of the stigma, styles, ovary integument, ovules. After ovules, you can calculating the set number of chromosome N, embryonic sac, until reaching to the egg cells, antipolar nuclei, antipodials, synergy cells. Egg cells is found in the antipodial cells, synergy cells, the microbes, and the funicles, through which the nutrient is passing through it. The same function of funicles and the nucleus, an important role in the same functions to provide with the nutrients. Okay, that's right. Okay. Reproduction in the living organism, follow me. Each remain 3 nuclei, both of them. sac pools become enveloped by some of the cytoplasm and thin membrane forming distinctive cells. It's called the ovules. The middle of the three cells that are close to the microbial grow forming egg cells. Along the side are cells called the synergid cells. The three cells that are distant away from the microbial, it's called antibodial cells. The ovules by such way become ready for fertilization when the main nuclei enter to it. That's right. Okay? Third type, pollination and fertilization. Pollination. There is a two types of the pollinations. Self-pollinations and the cross-pollinations. Self-pollination is conditionals. Cross-pollinations, another is conditionals. Self-pollinations, that means that transfer the pollen grain from inside the flowers to stigma of the same flowers at the same plant. Or transfer the pollen grain from inside the flower to stigma of another flower at the same plant. That means that self-pollination. What is the condition for the self-pollination? In inserts higher than the stigma. Both of endometrium and gynecium, male and female reproductive organs, mature in the same time. Okay, that's right. Why? Because the self-pollination is occurred in the same times. Cross-pollinations transfer the pollen grain from inside flowers to stigma of another flower and another plant at the same kind. Okay? What is the conditionals? Insert lower than the stigma. Both of endometrium and gynecium not mature in the same time. Maybe endometrium before gynecium, maybe gynecium before the endometrium. That's right. Self-pollinations and the cross-pollination, this is the type of the pollinations. Okay? Fertilizations. Okay? Okay? Now we are going focus at this point for this board. Fertilizations. The pollen grain in transfers by wind or insects and stick with the stigma. Stigma is secreting sugary substance to stick. Each pollen grain, it contains generative nucleus and the tube nucleus. Tube nucleus forming pollen tubes. The pollen tube extends through the styles until reaching to the micropyle. Okay? The generative nucleus is divided mitotically to give two male nuclei. Both of them, two male nuclei. Each one of them, it contains N. One from male nuclei, it fused with the egg cells in the middles, forming zygote. The zygote is divided mitotically, forming the embryo. Another type of male nuclei. After the pollen tube is generating, another male nuclei, it fused with the two polymeral nuclei, forming 3N. It's called the endosperm. The endosperm is divided mitotically, forming the endosperm tissue to feed or nourishment the embryo. So it's called double fertilization. What is the meaning of the double fertilization? One male nuclei fused with the egg cells, forming the zygote. It divided mitotically, forming the embryo. And another male nuclei producing from mitotic in the generative nucleus, it fused with the two polar nuclei, forming 3N. It's called endosperm tissue, and differentiations by mitotic in the endosperm tissue. That's right. Okay. Formation of the zygote to N, which is starting divided, forming the embryo to N. The second male nuclei N fused with the two nuclei of the embryonic sac to N, forming the endosperm nucleus. That's become triploid CN. The last stage is called triple fusions. First stage is fusions, and second triple fusion. Both of them double fertilization, forming the embryo and forming the embryonic sac, the endosperm. Both of them, it's called double fertilization. That's right. Okay. The previous two fertilization stages are called the double fertilization. The endosperm nucleus is divided, forming the endosperm tissue that supplied the early developing embryo with food. This tissue may be remain outside the embryo, occupying the part of the seed. That's right. Okay. Now we are going to focus about these questions. Choose the correct answer. What is the maximum number of the pollen grain in the insert of the flowering, where each sac of it contains 100 spores mother cells? Please focus in this point. The pollen grains is formed inside the insert. Each insert contains a 4 sac. Each sac contains 100 of the spore mother cells. Each spore mother cells give us 4 pollen grain. 100 by 4 equal 400. What is the number of sac? 4. 400 by 4 equal 1,600. It is the best answer, C, 1,600. That's right. Okay. Okay. The best answers, it's called 1,600. Choose the correct answer. Which of the following is not considered the part of the mature ovary? The mature ovary, please revision again the mature ovary. Mature ovary, it contains ovary, ovary walls, ovules, ovules walls, embryonic sac, nucleus, 3 antibodial cells away from the micropyle, 2 polar nuclei in the centers, near to the micropyles, egg cells along two sides found synergid cells play an important role in the fertilization. That's right. So, spore mother cells found in the matures? No, it's formed, divided. First one mitotically forming the 3 cell degenerate and 1 remains forming the embryonic sac. So the best answer is A. Egg is found in the middles. Okay? Polar nuclei found in the middles. Nucleus, the membranes surrounded the embryonic sac. So the best answer is A, spore mother cell. Okay? That's right. Choose the correct answer. Which of the following is not considered a part of the mature ovary? Spore mother cells, egg cells, polar nuclei, nucleus. All of them found except the spore mother cells. Why? Because it divided previously by meiosis, forming 4 cells. 4 cells, 3 degenerate and 1 remain, divided mitotically inside the embryonic sac after forming the embryonic sac and the nucleus, reaching to antipodials, synergid cells, and egg cells to polar nuclei. So the best answer is A, spore mother cells. Follow me, please, dear student. Now we are going to focus about the main point through the abstract and in whiteboard. Please follow me. Abstract about this episode. Now we are going to discussions about main points that related to reproduction in flowering plant. It's called angiosperm. Okay? Structure of the flowers. What's the meaning of the flowers? Short stem whose leaf is modified to reproductive organs. What is the structure of the flowers? Number 1, calyx. It consists of the main units. It's called sepals. Now, calyx play an important role in protection the flower before blooming. And the second, it's corolla. Corolla, it consists of all the main structure is called petals. It's colored and scented leaf to attract the insects, play an important role in reproductions and protect the flower in reproductive organs. Okay. Number 3, andrometriums, male reproductive organ. It consists of stamens. What's the meaning of the stamens? It consists of inserts, filament. Both of them consist of unit, it's called the stamens. Stamens, insert is contained 4 sac. Each sac contains the spores, mother cells. Number 4, gynoecium. That's 3% female reproductive organ. It consists of carpels, the units. It consists of ovary, styles, and the stigma. Stigma play an important role. Stick the pollen grain because it's secreting sugar solutions. That's right. Another point is very important that related to of this episode, formations of pollen grain. Pollen grain starting the formations from previously study the reproductions in the spirogyra. Spirogyra starting when meiosis, then mitosis. Inheres at the same. Okay? 2N spore mother cells divided mitotically gave us 3 cells. Each one of them is chromosomal set number N. It's called microspores. Microspore. This cell is divided mitotically, give us generative nucleus and tube nucleus, and surrounded by the rough surface, it formed 3 pollen grain. That means that each spore mother cells give us 4 pollen grain and 8 male nuclei. Okay, that's right. Another types of the formation, the ovules. Ovules, it's formed. It's appear the swamble swallowing, attaching the wall of the ovary. Inside the ovules, it is found the spore mother cells is 2N. 2N is divided mitotically, give us 3 cells. Both one of them, it's N. 3 generate and 1 remains. This remains is divided mitotically 3 times, forming the embryonic sac, and the membrane surrounded it from inside is called the nucleus. The divisions, it occurs 3 times, forming synergy cells, antipodial and tubular nuclei, egg cells finally. Okay? Now we are going last point focus about this episode, fertilizations. There is a double fertilization. One main nuclei, it fused to another nuclei and egg cells. This cells, it's represented as egg cells. Both of them fused together, forming the 2N zygote. Zygote, it divided mitotically gave embryo. Another main nuclei, it fused to two polar nuclei, N and N, forming a 3N. It's called endosperm. It divided mitotically give us the spermatozoa that feed the embryo in the dicotyledon. That's called the seed. Thanks a lot for you, dear student. See you later. I wish I could see you again in a best wishes. Mr. Hatem, biology teacher. Thanks a lot for you and goodbye.
تالتة ثانوي هانت خلاص، أنا قد التحدي، خطوة كمان والبكرة هعدي. تالتة ثانوي، تالتة ثانوي.